Knicks and Bruises, we are back. Shout out to the chat. Yo, Black, it's time. Got my guy Sim in the building. What's good, Sim?
Chilling, man. Feeling good. How about you?
I'm doing good. I'm feeling good too. I'm gonna start with it's official. You know, the Knicks announced this the signing of the 32nd head coach, Mike Brown.
Yeah,
We spoke about it already, but just some of the accolades: 750 plus games experience. Two-time head coach of the year in the NBA. Under that Greg Popovich coaching tree, you know what I mean. Um, had the number one offense in the league at 120 points per game with the Kings. Coached under Kerr as well on two of their championship teams as well. So lots of experience, lots of accolades. Salute to him. Shout out to him.
yeah.
I hope he was the guy. I hope he's the guy.
I hope so, man. I mean, he's, like we said, he's got some championship experience because he's been to the championship, um, in multiple, through as a head coach, also as a assistant coach. You know what I mean? So he has that experience. He's got experience with players who have cachet, LeBron. You know what I mean? Kobe, right? So he has that experience dealing with those type of players. Um, you know, you know, you needed to have someone who was going to have some cachet in the locker room, some sway in the locker room. You know what I mean? Players should respect Mike Brown. You would think they're going to respect Mike Brown because of his resume. They know he's been to the championship. He's been with Steph Curry, Clay, you know, Draymond. So he's got some he's got some cachet. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? And it looks like the front office is going to try to give him the tools. We all knew the roster wasn't completed, so they're going to continue to try to complete the roster, give him some tools. Make sure he has enough tools to work with, and let's hope that he can bring the Knicks to the championship.
Yeah. Again, I keep pushing back the whole hot seat situation, but I don't know if it's the time immediately after the announcement. So I'm gonna push that back a little bit, and we'll get into that hot seat for him and the front office and all that. But it's a good time. It's a good day. It's finally the saga is finally over. Now it's a new chapter. We can move forward and see what we got. I'm looking forward to it. It doesn't seem like he has many flaws. I'll say that as a head coach. He's had defensive accolades, offensive accolades.
Right.
Um, he seems to have dealt with all different types of personalities on different levels. On his coaching staff and with the players. So, I think he does have a lot of the tools to go ahead and be successful. Um, Even though the job comes with the hot seat, it is a very coveted job as far as if you want to be a coach and you're looking at, all right, what am I walking into? The roster is pretty solid from top 6 and 7 walking in. We just added 2 guys. We're gonna talk about that because that was just announced as well.
Right.
You know what I mean? But yeah,
that was one of the craziest questions that I seen on like ESPN. Is does anybody want? Is this a coveted job? Is this, like, what are you talking about? You're talking about a team that just went to the Eastern Conference Finals, right? Has 2 All NBA players. Is in one of the most prime, if not the most prime market in the NBA. You're going to get paid because of the market and because you have expectations. And if you're a competitive coach, why would you not want to have expectations, right? It doesn't mean the seat ain't hot. Seat is hot. It's burning hot. But people, ESPN and everything was like, does anybody even want the job because it's such a hard job? And it's like, what are you talking about? I mean, yeah, it's a hard job, but you're gonna get paid. That's what you're getting paid good for.
yeah, and that's the big part. You're gonna get paid. You're gonna get paid whether you're there the full tenure or just or just for a year. That job comes with a certain level of financial
Yeah.
security.
I mean, the contract what was it, 4 years, 40 million?
I believe
10 million a
so.
year. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
10
not
million a year. I
ain't too
believe
much
so.
like crazy for real.
I remember when 5 million was on the highest spectrum,
Yeah.
not too long ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The Knicks are currently paying $70 million in coaching salaries to 2 head coaches, but you know,
Yeah, don't bring up old wounds.
you know, but hey,
Let me
if they win the champion, they'll get that money back easy if we win the championship.
let me just shout out a couple people. I am Jarrell in the chat. Salute. Oh, here we go. Got it. Salute my brother. Can't wait to link back up. Nostalgic Nick, of course. And we got a super chat. None other than JB, Jason Benjamin. Salute. Appreciate the super chat. Am I the only one excited about Summer League roster? Lots of intriguing young talent and youth length athleticism. Tune in tonight, man. Couple hours. I plan on doing something short with Shuttle, talking about the at least a couple of summer league participants for us. So yeah, but I'm excited as well. I want to do a full breakdown of that as well. Hopefully, I get time. I know Sim, you're gonna do it as well. So if I can't, I'll jump on yours. We'll see what the schedule is looking at. I think we play Friday, first game. So let me bring the queen in the building. It's been a minute.
It
Salute.
has. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah, the echo.
loud and clear.
Cool.
Let me
Yeah,
see.
it's been a minute. It's good to be on with both of you. Yeah, looking forward to the conversation.
Yes, welcome back. Um, yeah, I wanted to say thank you, appreciate you, because we ain't speaking a minute, and I got that random text, just checking on your tone. But it was funny the night before I was on with Simba, and I'm like, yo, I gotta call Queen. Usually she the one hitting me first,
Yep.
and you still got me first. So salute to you, Queen. We just talking about the announcement, the official announcement of Mike Brown, and our thoughts on that, and I want to talk about the official announcements of the two new acquisitions, but starting with Mike Brown, yeah, that's coming back through. Say something, Queen.
Testing, testing. Kind
Yeah,
of echoey, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
You want to jump?
sounds like you got some reverb on the microphone.
Yeah.
So
You want to jump out, jump back in?
Yeah, let me do that.
All right, all right. We'll be right back with you.
All right.
But yeah, shout out to the chat. But yeah, Mike Brown, man, I think he has all the tools. You know what I mean? Like when they put that statement out, we couldn't go with an inexperienced coach. We had to go with somebody who had some experience. You know what I mean? Some cachet. Somebody more very equipped for the job and not a rookie.
right, had to. You know, I wasn't like knocking down the walls like, oh my God, we got Mike Brown. You know what I'm saying? So he may not be the fancy hire, right? But hopefully he's the guy that has the chemistry with the players because that's just as important, as having a guy who knows all the X's and O's and all the analytics and all that kind of stuff. The chemistry with the players, right? It's just as important. So, hopefully he's the guy who has that type of chemistry.
Yeah, I'm just excited to get it started. And yeah, we shall see. Knicks also announced the signings of Yabusele and Jordan Clarkson. I'm gonna start with Yabusele because I want to give a shout out to him as well for restructuring, that mid-level exception deal and taking a little bit less and giving us that flexibility to go ahead and sign another veteran minimum guy. And we're gonna end the show on that topic on who that should be. But that was my concerns when we first signed him. I thought a full mid-level exception deal was gonna put us into that second apron or over it, where would have restricted us from making these kind of deals and moving forward. So shout out to him for helping us out financially. And shout out to the front office for continuing to find ways and loopholes to keep making this team better.
Right. That they do.
Every year in and year out.
That they do.
Yabusele, 6'9", I mean, pardon, 6'8", 29, 265. He's a big guy. You know what I mean? Stocky guy. Shot the ball well, 38%, 11 points per game, 50% from the field, 38% from three. I think he's got a couple of starts, 43 starts out of 70 games. So he has that experience as well to kind of fill in if some guy is out, or fill in if coach wants to experiment with different lineups, whatever that may be. He's growing on me a lot. Like, I wasn't super enthused about the signing when it first was announced. It wasn't really until I started watching some of the Philadelphia podcasts and seeing how they were reacting to Philadelphia in their minds, their blunder of lowballing him and being able to give him the same deal and not offering it to him. A lot of them guys during the season thought he was a automatic to come back. So listening to guys who watched him for all 70 games, you know what I mean, and kind of wishing he was brought back to that team definitely made me look at him in a better light. Also, I think maybe him playing more of the 4 than he did than the 5. I think that might help him on this squad defensively. You know what I mean? Which is one of his limitations. Pardon me. Well, yeah, I know we talked about it before. What's some of your thoughts on that signing?
I think it's a good role player signing, right? Not looking to add to the star power with that signing, but just add around the fringes, right? Add guys that can shoot the ball, guys that can get it done, that can expand your offense a little bit. Because we all know come playoff time, our offense was stifled some because we didn't have as many dynamic guys, as many guys that can shoot. If Bridges has a night off, if OG has a night off, and they're not hitting, you got to have other guys that can do it. You know what I'm saying? That we didn't have that kind of depth with guys that could do it. So, he's a depth piece, a definite rotation guy, depth piece, and adds to the offense of this basketball team. Adds to the versatility, the defensive versatility of the basketball team. He's probably more versatile than Precious. Maybe not the defender that Precious is, though.
That's the exact point I was going to get to next. If he's filling in that role, he does bring a dynamic that Precious did not. But to your point, we probably lose some. I don't know if we lose the defensive flexibility with him. I think we lose the actual defensive ability. You know what I mean? I think he's a switchable. He's just as switchable, if you will, as a Precious. He just may not be as effective.
Right. He's switchable, but may not be as good of a defender.
But my question to you was going to be, what are some things that you think we could do to help that? I'm pretty sure one of the main ones you're going to say, which you know what I mean? By all means, it might happen this time.
Right, exactly. You know what I mean? And we'll see if Mike Brown is willing to do it. But use some zone, man. Using zone and mixing up your defense can do a lot. If you don't have the ability to play straight up man-to-man defense, like consistently, which you shouldn't do anyway. That was probably my biggest gripes with Tibbs. You know what I'm saying? You know, playing just straight up man-to-man defense, offenses are too sophisticated for that nowadays. You got to find ways to mix it up and make offenses think, make guards think, not have them know what you're doing every single time down the floor. You know what I'm saying? And you know, you cause little mistakes here and there, here and there. You cause little mistakes, which add up to something big. You know, so and then when you have players, you're not always going to get those guys that are just straight defensive dogs. You know what I mean? When you have players that aren't that, you can use a zone to mask it. And if you have rebounding issues, full court pressure can help mask rebounding issues sometimes.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? If guards are struggling to get the ball up the floor, you're forcing them to shoot quick shots, or you're turning the ball over. You know what I'm saying? Now you mitigate some of your defensive rebounding issues if you have them, right? Because you're forcing, there's not a rebound to be had because they turned the ball over, or they took a bad shot and they don't have rebounders in position.
And,
You know what I'm
and
saying?
you
So
you keep saying little tidbits that are like leading right into some of my other points. And that's with, you know, Yabusele's lack of rebounding. I think that there's a direct correlation to that with him actually being on the outside a lot. You know what I mean? Pulling up threes. You know what I mean? You're not going to be in position to get those rebounds as frequently. I think he has the size, the arm length, the wingspan to kind of be a more efficient, effective rebounder. But I think part of the fact that he's not, and I don't think he's horrible. You know what I mean? I just don't think he's, he's had some double doubles. I think 11 last year. You know what I mean? So he's more than capable. I think it's just he plays more in the perimeter offensively, which leaves him not in position for the offensive rebound. I would like to see a stat or a graph that gives me his rebounding percentages when he's in the vicinity. You know what I mean? Because I think that would be a better, a more accurate stat. I don't know where to find that at. But my other question is with both these guys' defensive rating. I think it might be like 122 or 126 for Clarkson. It was something crazy, and then 118 for Yabusele, or maybe 118 and 110. But either way, it was something crazy for both of them. How much of that do you put on the guys on the floor around him, and just them alone and their inabilities? Because shout out to Sherwin. He said, Yabusele, Clarkson, Cat, Hart, Brunson, Kolick, are all below average defenders.
You said Josh Hart? I don't know about Josh Hart. I think he's a decent defender. I think Josh Hart is at least average.
Yeah, I would put him at average. I haven't seen enough of Clarkson or Yabusele, and Brunson, even with his limitations, I think we all know that's due to size. You know what I mean? I think Kolick is gonna probably fall in that same category as well. But he also makes up for that with his charges drawn and steals or whatever. You know what I mean? Like there's ways to make up for those limitations, physical limitations.
Sherwin is going to be about lineups though. All 7 of those guys aren't going to be on the floor at the same time. You know what I mean? So it's going to be about lineups. If you have Brunson and Clarkson and Cat on the floor, right? Then you may not have all 3 of those guys on the floor at the same time. You know what I mean? It's going to be about lineups. If you can put 3 defenders out there and have 2 non-defenders or below average defenders, if you want to say it, then you can keep your defense average. So it's going to be about how those lineups are used, and then what kind of defenses you're using too. So it's not just about 7 below average or 6, because I'm going to say Josh Hart is at least average. 6 below average defenders is how you use the players that you got. So,
and to the point of what you were just saying, that zone could absolutely help in that area.
Absolutely. And at the time that you use your players, right? If you need offense, you might put 5 offensive guys out there on the floor and see if you can get something started. So
no, for sure. Welcome back, Queen.
I'm good.
Say so. Yeah, you good. You good. Perfect.
I couldn't figure it out. I just have to wind up turning it off and turning it back on.
So sometimes that's all it takes. You know what I mean? Welcome back. Salute. Your thoughts on Brown, real quick. I know you've probably talked about it in length. You know what I mean? But you back on the show, so I want to hear your perspective. We chopped it up a little bit as well on it, but
yeah, I mean, I like it in the sense that I think we're gonna keep the best of Thibodeau, like in terms of experience, in terms of someone who's going to command the respect of the locker room, who's been in high pressure situations before, understands how to deal with the media. I don't know if I would say he's a better coach overall than Tom Thibodeau, but I think he may be better in the areas in which we need him to be better. And that is offensive creativity and maybe some defensive versatility, right? I hear a lot about those two things. What I don't hear about, and it remains to be seen, is whether or not he's a tactician. Like, I know the team is going to be prepared. I heard a lot about that, that he's a penchant for details. So, he's detail oriented. I think that's kind of Tibbsian, but in-game adjustments, in-game lineup changes, between game adjustments in a intense playoff series, like that's where the rubber hits the road, right? So you know how it happens when there's a new coach. Oh, everything is so much better. The offense is so much better. We could play music in the locker room now. Like all of this stuff. I was listening to you and Sim the other night on the show you guys did the other night, and what Sim said is correct. It's about the results. It's about the results. And so I like the hire. I think he was, out of everyone available, I'm most comfortable with him. I'm looking forward to seeing the offense and the defense under him. But the reality is, we're not going to really know until the playoffs, right?
real quick, because I think me and Sim spoke about it, and I'm pretty sure I remember. I don't know if this was on the show or off camera. So if Sim, if you want to reiterate, by all means. But Queen, what's your thoughts of the reports of the Knicks looking to bring in sort of the offensive coordinators and the defensive coordinators to assist on his staff? Do you look at that in a positive aspect, or the Knicks being too controlling? The one caveat I will put is there were reports that the front office was looking for a more collaborative effort. So I'm sure in the hiring, this was made clear, you know what I mean, one way or another, that this is what we're looking for, or at least that's what I assumed when I heard more collaborative effort between the coach and front office. But what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I have two separate thoughts. In terms of bringing in, offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators, I think that's fine. From what I'm reading, he is someone who, I guess you can even say, empowers the assistant coaches, have them run practices. I get the sense that he takes their input, and Tibbs could also take in their input, just not during the game. Like that, we don't know. But it seems like he's somebody that also takes their input during the game. So I'm fine with it. Bringing in more people that he can, talk to offensively and defensively and get different views. I'm fine with that. Collaboration, I think we sling that word around and it means different things to different people. Like, where is the line when we're talking about collaboration? Mm-hmm. Now, to me, and maybe because I coached before, is it a strong collaboration where you're going to tell me what offense I should be running, what defenses I should be running, what lineups I should have in. Like, I'm not sure that's collaboration. You know what I mean? But collaboration in the sense that, look, the way the CBA is shaping up, in a year or two, we're going to need some of these young guys. So I need you to figure out a way to kind of get them some time, because we're going to be leaning on them in another year or two. And I don't want them, and I would like them to have some type of experience. I think that's fair. Like, I don't know how you're going to do it, but I'm just putting this in your ear as an organization. This is what we need. Like, to me, that's collaboration. So what do they mean when they talking about they want someone collaborative? Because to me, it's okay for a coach to say, I don't feel like I need to collaborate with you on my lineups. I don't feel I need to collaborate with you on my offenses and defenses, because I know more about this than you guys. So or if they asking a question, that's different. We just trying to understand, this is what the lineup data is showing. The Knicks are much better with Miles McBride, and I know you're aware of this. We're just trying to get a sense of what your thought. Like, to me, that's fair. So it just depends on what they mean by collaboration.
All right, Sim, you could add to it if you want.
Well, we talked.
It sounds like y'all on the same page. 100%.
Yeah, we when we talked, I said the same thing. What does collaboration mean? Does it mean that they just want someone that's going to listen to what they say, or is it like, hey, let's talk about this, so that we know what players to get. We're all on the same page on how we're moving forward, our philosophy, so on and so forth. I don't like the front office choosing a coach's assistants. I just prefer. I don't mind that they say, hey, here's some guys that we were thinking about because they do this, that, this, and that, and this, and that, and we would like you to have that support.
Right.
Can we talk to these, let's talk to these guys too. You know what I'm saying? But for me, if I was coaching the team and they said, this guy is going to be here, I might not like that guy's philosophy. He may not like my philosophy. He could be undermining me. You know what I'm saying? And that could happen with guys that I bring in. But at least if I'm bringing in guys, it's not my fault that they undermined me to the players or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? So I don't mind the front office saying, we want you to have, here's some weaknesses that we see in you. So we would prefer that you get a guy that can really assist you on the offensive side, or that can really assist you here, really assist you there, right? Because anybody at any employee, I think, is, they're going to have a boss or executive team, whatever, that's going to say, yeah, here's your weaknesses. We like everything that you do, but here's where we think you can grow and develop. So this is what we would like to do. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's fair. I think just putting somebody there, I don't know if that's necessarily fair. Now, if you have guys, I think you say, here's some guys we have. What do you think about our guy? What do you think? Because we would like to keep this guy and this guy and this guy because of these reasons. You know what I'm saying? And make it collaborative that way.
Well, that also could be part of the collaborative effort of, let's say, just for example, the Knicks saying, all right, we're holding on to these guys. But once we hire Mike Brown, now we collaborate, and they might not fit at that point. You know what I mean? So we're not letting them go just to let them go. We're gonna hold on to them. Now we got a head coach. Maybe some of these roles become more defined because Mike Brown is here, because he's collaborating with them. Like, maybe that's what it is. Where you know what I mean? Like, you're not gonna just clean house. Because to me, that's even more. Some of Mike Brown's guys may not be available. They might be employed. Some of the guys I think are Mike Brown's guys because I think they overlapped in working with Greg Popovich. So some of them may be his guys that they're looking to bring on as well. But you know what I mean. And then to my point on your show, some of these guys may be just specific types of coaches. They may not be. You know what I mean. They may be the big man coach. He's here to help Mitch. You know what I mean. Yabusele, Haporti. He's not here to infringe on anything you're doing. He's here to make sure they're ready when you're utilizing them, and then the guard coach, etc., etc. So, yeah, when you talk about dictating a lead assistant or something, then I agree 100%.
Can I ask Sim a question? And Tony, if it's okay, you could piggyback off of it. We're talking about the coaching staff, but also what about picking the players before you have a coach? And I know at least in my chat, is split.
Mhm.
Like there's some who feel like Tom Thibodeau, or any coach having their guys is like a bad thing, and that the front office should pick the players, and when the coach come in, they should just be able to design an offense or defense around the players that's there. And look, in the first year, you might have to do that. You don't have any control over that. But I believe once you move into that second and third year, you start picking guys that fit your style. And that doesn't mean it could be skill, but it can also be mentality, grit, like whatever.
Right.
I don't really see anything wrong with that. And I think a coach should have, like, this is not high school where you just deal with whoever. Well,
right.
The high schools I've in, some of these high schools is on another level, but
right.
Where you should be able to pick the players that fit what you want to do as time goes on. I mean, you stuck the first year. Your thoughts on that?
This we kind of was having this conversation Sim already. I'm not gonna go deep. I just want to say, go ahead and answer. I'm gonna gather my thoughts because I got some.
I agree with that 100%. I don't see how you hire a coach for their philosophy and style of coaching, and if you don't allow the coach to bring in the type of players that fit their philosophy and style, then you're crippling him, in my opinion. Right? It's like, I mean, it's like I tell a kid to color a picture the way you want it, any way you want. Here, I want your artistic ability, but then I say, but I'm only going to give you black and green, right? And they're like, well, I want all these other colors to make it as beautiful as I want to make it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think you have to. I think you got to give. I think the coach has to pick their players. I'm not saying it's not collaborative.
That's where I was going.
And you speak with the front office, and you guys, talk about certain players and this and that in a strategy session or whatever it is. Right. But I think you have the coach. You got to give the coach the tools that they ask for.
I think it goes back to the draft. We get the same question argument in every draft per se from somewhere. Do you go with the best talent or best player available or best fit? You know what I mean? So I think it's a very similar situation when you're doing that, but I think it's tricky because most coaches don't do well when they have that as their job, doing both and constructing the roster and coaching the team. So for me, it boils down to that, collaborative effort again, or having to compromise.
Well, I think
within, because here's what I'll say. You there has to be some give and take. The coach has to be willing to adjust to some, like, because every player is not going to be perfect anyway, right? So every player is going to have some things that you could utilize that work perfect for your philosophy, but he might be great at something that isn't your strength. I think as a coach, you do have to figure out how to utilize that strength of that person. Otherwise, and this may be what you're saying. Otherwise, he's not of value to he's losing value on your team.
Which is why you shouldn't do it. Which is why you. So, for example, Obi Toppin, you bringing in, he plays a totally different style than what Tom Thibodeau philosophy is. And so to get the best out of Obi Toppin, you got to play a different way when he's in the game.
Right.
You understand? And there's some coaches who do that. Like they have the starters play this way, the bench plays another way. But that wasn't under Tip. So now you got Obi maybe not being his best self, under Thibodeau, because you're not going to change your whole system to take advantage of this one guy. And is that on Tom Thibodeau? Is that on the front office for drafting a guy who's probably, not a good fit?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think, you just, I don't know. You got to give the coach the tools that they need to be successful. You know what I'm saying? Because then it's hard for me for a front office to blame a coach if they didn't give them the tools. I mean, it might come down to the coach, right? And also, it's the reason that you hire a coach when you're in the front office. You're hiring a coach that you believe in their philosophy and you have similar philosophies. It makes it easier to collaborate, right? You don't hire a coach that, and I'm not saying that's what they did with Tibbs, but you hire a coach that has a similar philosophy, similar way of thinking and playing basketball, similar style. So now when you're talking about players, you have the same ideas in mind already. Doesn't mean that you don't have some people that may have some other ideas, right? But you have similar things in mind. I wanted to comment about, you said when coaches have to build the roster, they struggle. I think part of that, though, is not building the roster and choosing the players, the business side. If they have to do the business side as well, is where I think they have the struggle as far as the coach. But just saying, I need this type of guy, that kind of guy, let me go scout a guy, see if he fits my system. I don't think they struggle in that part of it. I think it's the business part of it when they have to do both. Right? The general manager or whatever in Minnesota. So now he had to handle the business part, and all of that part, plus handle the coaching part, which,
my point in that is also that the front office, the business side is always there for them. So it's a lot easier for a coach to say, get me that guy or get me that type of guy.
Yeah.
The front office still financially or business wise has to figure out how to do that. So even with that, I think there has to be a compromise. I might not be able to get you the exact prototypical guy that you want, you know what I mean? But I could get, you know what I mean? If you list to me 5 attributes, I might be able to get you 3 out of 5. I might only be able to get you 2 out of 5. But on, you know what I mean? And my last point on this topic is I think it does fall on the front office because they got to know the coach that they hire, right? And I think maybe a different coach, maybe Mike Brown being very similar to Tibbs in a lot of ways that we haven't really spoke about. Maybe one of the things that he can bring, like your Obi Toppin example, maybe he would have been able to implement a Obi Toppin because he has a little bit more flexibility in his philosophy as opposed to Tibbs. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to make it a him versus him. I'm just trying to use them as the examples of what we're talking about here. So maybe a different coach knows how to utilize somebody that might not fit into the previous coach's range of guys that he wants to use or knows how to use. So
the last thing I'll say is all coaches do it. Even think about Indiana. If you give Rick Carlisle a slow plodding player, how many minutes is that player gonna get? Doesn't really fit their system. He's not gonna when he comes in with the second, unless he's a dynamite player, when he comes in with the second unit, we're gonna change our entire style of play for that particular play. So my point is, every coach does it. Every coach, has their style. Now, it's possible that Carlisle leaned into this style because of the roster he had. It's possible he looked at him and said, you know what? we need more of these guys. We're gonna have to go in this in this direction. But all coaches do that. All coaches come in with a certain style. It's not even that they trying to hard press it. They believe in it.
Mm-hmm.
They believe that this style will win.
Right.
I also think some coaches are more flexible than others. Or you know what I mean, have more range than other. They may have more limitations somewhere else. You know what I mean? But I think that's the give and take, that's the give and pull with, you know what I mean, whatever decision you make, you end up making.
Yeah, I think veteran coaches are better with having more range because they've been around. I think a younger coach that tries to Fizdale, that tries to have all of this range, spreads themselves where now they don't even have a philosophy. With the philosophy, and you have a closed range, and then as you grow in your coaching, you might build that philosophy out. You know what I'm saying? So
I didn't even know this particular topic would have went on this long, but this was a great discussion for sure. Even considering we've all collectively or individually have talked about this already, but just having the three of us, let's move on. We talked about Yabusele already. Queen, if you want to give a quick quick thoughts on your thoughts on his signing, how he can help, or whatever, we'll jump into Clarkson and then we'll get into the main topic. I know, Sam, you got only a couple more minutes.
Well, then I won't say too much, but I think it just did the Knicks make these signings because these players fell in their lap and they were the best available players for the money that they had available, or were these players picked because they knew they was going to coach Mike Brown was going to be the coach? They collaborated with him and he said, yeah, I know what I'm going to do with these players, because this is where making these decisions, like, so basically you all in offensively.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have a so-so defense, hopefully good enough, right? But you're going to have a powerhouse offense. Like, this is how you're building out the team. So I don't know what his rebounding percentage is, and I don't know if this 3-point percentage is going to hold up. I know he shot well from the 3 last year. He's an undersized center. He could play with Cat. I don't know what the defense is going to be like when those two play together. He could play with Mitchell Robinson. 27 minutes, 6 rebounds. Again, I don't know what his rebounding percentage was, but we'll see. It's not just the individual players, but it's also about the fit with the other guys. So we'll see. I'm more excited about Clarkson.
Okay, that's fair. My excitement was very tapered with him as well. I think the more I looked into like what the Philly fans were saying, etc., I got a little bit more pumped about it. Looked a little deeper into the shooting numbers. I got a little bit more excited, but I agree. Overall, he doesn't help defensively. And neither does Clarkson. But let's talk about Clarkson real quick. 33 years old, 6'3". They got the Knicks have him listed as. I know we said 6'2" on other sites. I'm reading from the Knicks presser right now. But it's a couple things that wasn't really mentioned that they have here that I think is great. Over his career, he's registered 40+ point games off the bench in 4 games, which ranks second all time in NBA history. I believe, let's see, 8,000 points off the bench. He's 11th all time, and then first amongst active players in bench points. So these are things that and this I think answers a little bit of your question. Either if it wasn't with Mike Brown's approval, I don't even know if that would have been legal, but if it wasn't with Mike Brown's approval, it definitely was an immediate need of bench scoring, bench production, bench points that was a hole for us. I've been a fan of his over the last couple of years anyway. He's been in my trade discussions a couple of times. I think he helps with ball handling. He helps with creation for himself and others. I think he's a underrated passer. I don't think if most people kind of go to that when they talk about his strengths. Yeah, I think I'm just as excited as you. I'm gonna start with Queen and then
Yeah, I mean the Knicks need bench scoring, and he can produce it. I thought the Knicks always needed someone who can create off the dribble, and he can do that. Like you said, he's liable to put up 30, one day. He's inconsistent, of late he's been inefficient. You do wonder how much that had to do with him just being on a bad team. I believe when Utah was good, he was much more efficient. So hopefully, on a good team with a defined role, he'll find that efficiency. I don't really see him as a point. He can play the point. He's more of a combo guard, so it's interesting.
Mhm.
It's going to be interesting to see if the Knicks go with him and McBride in the backcourt, or if they feel the need to bring in a point, a point guard.
Yeah. I think it's ironic because I think he's a quintessential Thibodeau guard. Like, quintessential. But I definitely think he'll be a dynamic scorer for us off the bench. Much needed ball handler off the bench. A guy that can come in and get you some buckets. He'll have his off nights and things, but I think he was something that the Knicks really needed. So was it Mike Brown? I don't know. But I think it was probably more like this is the best that we can do right now with the money that we have, and you couldn't pass it up, even though you didn't have a coach. You couldn't pass it up.
Right.
You know, uh, you know. So, but I will say before, because I do got to leave shortly. You have. I don't know if you're even ready to transition to it, but
yeah, I'm gonna give you the floor for it because I know you got to go. And then I'm gonna get to Fred Wong with the super chat. You know what I mean? But go ahead. Let's go. Let's transition.
Yeah, the Bradley Beal versus Ben Simmons. Bradley Beal would definitely make the team way more dynamic because you have another dynamic scorer. But I really feel like Ben Simmons is probably what the Knicks need. A defender and a guy that can facilitate the ball out to all of these guys who can score. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like he would be what the Knicks need. You know what I mean? I mean I talked about that months ago, right? The Knicks getting Ben Simmons. And I mean, he's a guy who can defend 1 through 4. He can facilitate the ball. We know he's not going to shoot, but hopefully Mike Brown would be able to utilize his skill set. You know what I mean? Because we really did just lack that facilitator. And you seen, when you look at, the teams that made the championship, they had guys that could facilitate the ball. You know what I mean? Brunson's not a facilitator. And then guys like, Mikal Bridges struggled when he had pressure defense on him. They got to the point where they were just dribbling, looking for Brunson. You know what I mean? We need a guy that can get the other people involved. So I think Ben Simmons I think he'd benefit the team better than Bradley Beal. I had to think about it a lot. Because it would be so dynamic. You'd have so much offensive power, but would you be able to utilize all of it?
I know you gotta go. I'm gonna break it down with Queen in depth because I think this is a dynamic discussion. My question to you about Ben Simmons is because I agree, and I think there's talking points on both sides. But if it was Ben Simmons, how do you neutralize, let's say, him and Josh Hart on the floor together? How do you know? You know what I mean? Or even if it's him, Hart and Mitch at times, you know what I mean? Because that I honestly I think I was leaning towards Ben Simmons as well. But and again, I just that was one of my sticking points.
What did Hart shoot from 3-point line this year?
34, I want to guess.
34%. Right.
And
So
and that's acceptable.
right. So
It's not about his percentage. It's about his willingness for me.
I mean, he's shown more willingness to shoot than Ben Simmons has.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying on them, you know what I mean?
I mean, he's had moments where he's hesitated to shoot the ball. And will Mike Brown put both of those guys on the floor at the same time? I guess it would depend on the situation. How much do you need some scrappiness at that point in time? You know what I mean? And if you did, how would you utilize them? I don't know. Maybe you say, well, we're going to put Josh Hart, depending on who's defending him, in the post.
Mm-hmm.
Let Ben Simmons, and then have 3 other shooters around, or let Ben Simmons get the ball to him in the post, or something. I don't know. You know what I mean? You'd have to figure out. You'd have to figure that out, or maybe you don't. Maybe you don't use them both at the same time. Maybe one of them is a starter and the other one is coming off the bench. And you don't.
And again, that's part of the longer discussion we'll have. I know you gotta get out of here.
Just quick, because everyone, is automatically saying that Mitch is going to start, and I wouldn't have a problem with that. But if you had Ben Simmons, you might say, well, we'll start Ben because he can facilitate. Now you got 3 guys that has a lot of switchability between Ben Simmons, OG, and Mikal Bridges. Ben can get the ball to all 4 of those other guys to shoot it. And then off the bench you got, those guys, Josh Hart and Mitch coming off the bench. You're gonna play a little bit of a different style coming off the bench, but
yeah,
who knows?
I mean, you pretty much you answered the question for me. I just kind of the reason I thought about them playing together, because you just look at even Tibbs making the adjustment to start Mitch was more so based off of how bad things were going with Hart in the starting lineup, I think, and the way they were utilizing that. Now they found another adjustment to make to neutralize Mitch's presence, but I was just my concern. But I appreciate it. I'm a deep dive into this with Queen as long as she got.
It looks like you're about to run into your next show too. But
I'm gonna have to I'll push it back a little bit.
Yeah, but no doubt, I appreciate you, Tony.
Appreciate you, Sam.
Appreciate you as well, man.
I appreciate you. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm out of here.
Shout out to Fred Wong, Peace with the super chat. He said, to Sim's point, and Ben makes it easier for the whole team on both ends of the floor. That Pascal didn't eat. Why does the way he does with Ben guarding him? Pascal doesn't eat the way he does with Ben Simmons guarding him. I think that's true, a true statement. I think there's arguments on both sides. You know what I mean? I think I was leaning towards the Beal. But Queen, if the choice is between those two, who are you choosing? And then, or do you want to just have the discussion of the benefits of the Beal, and then we could get into the Ben Simmons? Because we kind of heard the Ben argument side of it.
I mean, we could say the benefits of both, and then who we would choose. I agree with Sim in terms of the benefits of Ben Simmons in terms of ball handling, size, switchability, being able to run an offense, being able to really lean into Brunson off the ball at times. I'm neutral on Ben Simmons. Like, I'm not excited. If the Knicks get him, it's fine. If they don't get him, like, I'm okay. I'm okay with it. I would be much more excited if it was Lonzo Ball, which is kind of like a Ben Simmons package, just a little shorter, who shoots a
better
little.
Shoot.
Yeah, shoots a
a shooter. Period. He'll shoot it.
Like, period. And he'll definitely help us on the defensive end. Bradley Beal changes everything, man. Bradley Beal would start at the 2, in my opinion. I was just looking at his stats because we got a show tonight too. He's still average. He's still average like well, I don't have it with me, but he could still, he could still score the ball. It's about health with him. But I wouldn't be concerned if you still have Miles
Everybody.
McBride, you have Clarkson, you talking about a 5-out offense.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a 5-out offense where you really couldn't leave anybody. Basically, you would have to choose to leave OG or McHale.
Or McHale. Yep.
And hope that they beat you. But defensively, you're talking about Brunson, Beal, and Towns in the starting lineup.
Now Wingstop they have to really live up to that Monarch. You know what I mean? Like now they're gonna have to do better than before. You know what I mean? As a collective. And then I didn't mean to cut you off, but to Sim's point earlier with the zone, that becomes an even more crucial aspect of something that you got to try to figure out. But continue.
And maybe he won't start. I just think he would. I just think. I mean, he's still, if he's healthy, he's still a really good player. The other question I have about Beal and Clarkson, is it that they can't play defense? Are they capable, or they just haven't been held accountable in those situations? Or is it similar to Towns? Maybe there's some defensive IQ issues. Maybe there's some lateral speed issues. Like, is it that sort of thing? Because when I look at Clarkson, I'm like, well, why can't you play deep? Physically, you should, what's the problem? So
that's a great question. I don't know if Beal necessarily. I don't remember his reputation being a bad defender, other than his Phoenix stint. But I think in Phoenix, I think they were throwing every negative conversation they could at him because of the no trade clause and just the way things looked. You know what I mean? It was easy to start pinpointing the things he doesn't do great. And he wasn't available for a long stretch of that as well. I don't really remember that being his reputation. Not saying he was a defender, but being labeled as a bad defender. I thought CJ McCollum was considered more of a bad defender than Beal, because I remember, some years back having the argument, who would you rather have between Beal and CJ? And that was one of the points a lot of people made. CJ was a worse defender,
right?
But yeah, I think he could start. I think the fact that he came off the bench towards the end of his time in Phoenix may give him, it may not be that big a deal if he's coming off the bench.
Right.
And I think right now, as our roster's constructed, Clarkson might be our second best ball handler on the team. I think if Beal comes in, he becomes our second best ball handler on the team, and it's by far. Like, I think he's that much better of a ball handler than Clarkson. The thing with Beal is, if he's not starting, what does that do for Deuce? What does that do for Clarkson? Maybe, you know what I mean. I think if he is starting, it's probably, I think more things fall in line with the second unit and the rest of the roster than if you're trying to put him on the bench.
Well, if you're starting Deuce, then him and Clarkson runs with that.
That's true. I never even thought of that.
Second unit.
I never even thought of that.
Do you think that now neither one of those guys are like true point guards? Bradley Beal has played point earlier in his career when John Wall got hurt, right? He was moved to the point guard, so he has some experience. So I wouldn't consider him a true point guard. If the Knicks went that way over Ben Simmons, do you think in that backcourt between Clarkson and Beal, let's say we started Deuce, we can get away with not having a quote unquote point guard between the two of them?
I do. I mean, I think you could. I already feel that way without Beal right now. You know what I mean? I think with Clarkson, like Clarkson, Deuce, Josh Hart, between the three of them with their individual strengths, I think we have enough to kind of figure out a scheme to run the offense. Especially if you're playing cat with the second unit sometimes, you know what I mean? Like that becomes another guy that could facilitate, you know what I mean? Now they just got to bring it up, feed cat. Maybe cat becomes more of a hub, which I've been asking for, you know what I mean? Like we got to figure out how to run the ball through cat some more. So I think collectively, I think we can. I think Beal, you could straight put the ball in his hands and have him be a point guard. I think he's that good. And to your point, in Washington, he had to do it, but he had to do that while leading the league in scoring. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that won't be his scoring is only going to be a plus. I think his biggest attributes on this team, if he joins this team, would be his ball handling and playmaking. And you know what I mean? I'm looking at his scoring as great as he can be as a scorer, as a bonus, not a necessity. He like he could bring that down, and it's not a detriment.
Right.
It's, especially with those other guys. But in that second unit, now you talk about him, Deuce. I guess Josh Hart can play the 4, small ball 4. You know what I mean? I don't like it, but you know what I mean. That's still, we're short, but we're also like at an average length of like 6'5" ish. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
All right, with decision time.
I mean, I don't know about Ben Simmons per se, but if
I'm sorry. Let me just acknowledge the Jason Benjamin. Appreciate the super chat. He said Ben is the choice. He checks the boxes. If we need more height, defense, ball handling, is a plus defender and can play point. If he's cheap, do it.
That's fair, Jason Benjamin. I wish it wasn't Ben Simmons. I wish it was Beal versus a point guard. Like, do the Knicks need a point guard? Whether that's Ben Simmons, Brogdon,
okay,
Marcus Smart, because I would lean toward having another ball handler facilitator over scorer. I just don't know for me if it's Ben Simmons. But to answer this question, I'm going with Beal. But then I'm going with Beal. I think there would be enough ball handling, facilitating between him and Clarkson in that second unit, or Clarkson and McBride in that second unit. But our overall defense, though, we're gonna be like the number 1 offensive team if we can get it together. Like
we'll beat that 120, right?
Right.
From Sacramento.
Like 13th in defense, like 13th or something in defense.
13th might be that might be a climb to get to 13. We struggled to get to 13 last year.
Yeah.
Did we even get to? We got to 13 at one point, right?
Yeah.
Or 14?
I think we ended 14, if I'm not mistaken.
So to get to 13 with Beal, I'd take that in a heartbeat, because I don't know if we could get to 13. Oh man, I ain't gonna front before
we need to, though. Like I don't know if you can be top 5 offense and bottom 10 defense. Perhaps. I don't know.
But before I did this show, I ain't gonna lie, Quinn, I was leaning towards Beal. I was. I thought, and I thought Sim was too. That's why when he dropped his Ben Simmons thing, I thought we was gonna be on opposite sides. But I think Jason Benjamin, I think he's right on point with everything that has me. I agree. I think offensively, dynamic wise, like we would be crazy with Beal offensively. Like you really got to pick your poison. I think he could play alongside Brunson, as we've seen him do with John Wall, as we've seen him. You know what I mean? Like, so he could do that. and he could actually help Brunson with the ball handling duties to maybe make things even easier for Brunson, which I don't think we had last year. I think there's mad positives for going for Beal. I think he's worth more money. Just if you're talking about take away all the baggage and everything, you know what I mean? Open market. I think he's even worth more money. So getting him at a veteran minimum, that might be even more of a value. But as far as need of the team, I think Ben Simmons checks more boxes. And even to your point of you don't think we need the scorer, is I don't know if that's a box not needing something. But, you know what I mean?
With the Simmons, like I would prefer like Marcus Smart.
Okay, well, that was gonna be my my next question, because you mentioned you wish it was the question was a point guard. If Smart was bought out, I would put him probably number one on my list. But you mentioned Brogdon, so same choice with Brogdon and Beal, knowing that
the only thing
Brogdon does give you he's more of a defender 100% than, you know what I mean? I don't know how with his age where he is defensively.
That's what I was
but
where is he defensively with his age? And he's had an injury history
throughout his career, pretty much.
Yeah. So I would prefer Smart over Brogdon. But both of those guys to me are like heady guys. And so is Ben Simmons, that can run an offense. And where Brunson should feel comfortable off ball with those guys. Like that he doesn't have to run back and get it. Like those those guys can run it, Wow. Yeah. In general, I think the Knicks could need a facilitator where Brunson can truly play off ball more than they need another scorer, whoever that is.
But would you prefer Brogdon over Beal? Or no?
I don't know.
It's too many more. It's too many more question marks. Like we don't know if Brogdon is who he was.
Right.
So I was just wondering because you mentioned him. I didn't know if you was going to pivot with him.
Yeah. I'm not.
Where Smart is on Washington right now.
Smart is, I believe so. Wait.
Do you think he's still?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they've mentioned that. Him with a buyout?
I think I read something about him on a buyout.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't hear that, but yeah, I would pick him. My question with him is, he's kind of been now I know where he's been, but he hasn't been playing. He's been hurt. You know what I mean? He hasn't been impactful in his time. Is there any thought of him being a product of the Celtics and that being his success? And because it wasn't even like, even Brogdon had points in his career on bad teams where he still looked like he was showing his value as a trade piece. You know what I mean? As a somebody to be interested with trade value. I don't know if Marcus Smart, it seemed like he left the Celtics and he had trade value based off of what he did in the Celtics, never based off of what he's done.
I mean, I think at this point in all of those careers, trade value is dead. Like, I don't think you're going to be able to trade any of those guys unless they're a throw-in to something else at this point in their career. I think with Marcus Smart for the Knicks is just, can he defend and run the offense? He's not a good shooter either.
Mm-hmm.
Can he defend and run an offense so that Brunson can play off ball? Like, he ain't gonna shoot the three either. I think he's a career 33% shooter or something like that.
And now you got me questioning if I would pick him over Ben Simmons, because his his good. He's not just good at things. He's elite at things that'll be strengths. You know what I mean? Ben Simmons, as far as like just facilitating and defense, I would still put him in the elite category in those things. And if those are your two main jobs,
right,
and there's no worries as far as like offensive output, the only difference is for him, he would have to become a lob threat as well to neutralize them playing him the way they played Josh Hart, because that really killed us in the playoffs, right? So the only way to neutralize that for Ben Simmons, who's really not going to shoot, where Josh Hart, it was about just be confident and we okay with you shooting whatever you shoot, you know what I mean, is somehow become like figuring out how to be a lob threat. But then it brings up another weakness of his, because the lob threat is one thing, but now if they know we just got to put you to the line, which was another thing that hurt us during the season. This is hard. I don't know if I have. I think Bradley Beal. I'm going back to Bradley Beal.
Because with all of
I'm going back to Bradley Beal.
With all of these guys, there's gonna be weaknesses as well, right? Marcus Smart, Brogdon, Ben Simmons, injuries. Are they who they once was? Ben Simmons last year wasn't playing in back-to-back, so hopefully he's all the way back. We don't know. Brogdon, was he injured or was Washington just going? I mean, he was playing some when he went there, but then I think he got hurt. But did he really get hurt, or did they just want to see more of their young guys? You know what I mean? So we don't really know who Brogdon is. We don't know who Marcus Smart, because those guys didn't play a lot last year. Marcus Smart played 34 games. He started 7. Brogdon played 13. Is that right? 13 games.
Yeah.
Wow.
And if you look over the past couple years, it's you know what I mean, like it's not any different for those guys. And you could throw Beal in that mix, but I'm going back to Beal because I think if you're talking about who has the most potential motivation as far as like getting back on the right track, I would go with Beal.
Yeah.
I would go with Beal. Obviously injuries aside for everybody. Right. Shout out to JB again. He said Beal to me is more name than play at this point. He gets paid, then underwhelms the last 3 years. We need defense, ball handling. That's our needs. I agree. That is our needs. But I'm looking at those free throws with Ben Simmons and how that hurt us with Mitch, right? I'm looking at if Ben Simmons is off the bench, does that mean we got to start Hart again? And so now is it Ben Simmons and Mitch playing together, or is it Ben Simmons and Hart playing together? Because either one is more than likely going to be one of the two at points. You know what I mean? I'm trying to neutralize where they hurt us. I understand where they help us. I'm trying to neutralize where they hurt us. Now, Beal does. I don't know if Beal 100% hurts us defensively. That just may not be a strength. So I'm not 100% sure on the defensive hurting us. And then the problems that we will be dealing with will be the same problems that we've already dealt with, last year. So it's not like a new problem arising. It's us still having to figure out something that we've had to figure out already. Here's my question.
And then I have to. I forgot to have a client at 7:40. It won't be long. I can hop back on, but yeah, go ahead.
Last question. I gotta go too because I got another show scheduled, which I forgot about. This was dope. If the Knicks re-sign or extend Mikal Bridges, can you convince him to come off the bench, which keeps? Go ahead, take your call, Queen. I'm gonna ask the chat. Can you convince Mikal to come off the bench after extending him, and then you're starting Beal? You're keeping Mitch in the starting lineup, and you're not as worried about the defense. You know what I mean? Because now you're bringing some defense on the bench and with Mikal, and then you know what I mean. You bring it more offense. Because to me, that's the only other solution. Because I don't think you put OG on the bench. You know, you move. I don't really like Cat at the 5 as much as, you know. I think if you keep Mitch in the starting lineup and you keep Mikal, or you get Mikal as, you know, the 6-man, or, you know what I mean, you still starting minutes, you know, still giving us the defense, maybe giving us more offense because we're utilizing you more. That would be my only solution that I could think of, that if we bring them in. But you got to extend them first, because you can't have them on an expiring and demote them and then have them mad, and then, you know what I mean, like you got to give them that.
You can't pay them 146 million and have them come off the bench. I would bring Beal off the bench if we were to. If you're gonna start Mitch, I would bring Beal off the bench, okay. Unless you're gonna start Beal and Bridges. Yeah. That would be that. That's gonna be a tough one, and just in terms of how much minutes. It's not a lot of minutes to go around in that second unit. And if Beal and Clarkson are gonna get 25 to 30, how much is McBride gonna get? You know what I mean? That's gonna be tough.
The good thing is the Knicks are in this position. You know, as much as it's been frustrating with the coaching serve and coaching fire and all that, the Knicks, they keep making moves and doing savvy things to help them continue to be in position to keep improving. Queen, I appreciate you jumping on with me as always. What time's your show? You said tonight, right?
Yeah, tonight, 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
Basically, we're going the same thing. Who should the Knicks sign with that last with the vet minimum? So we'll talk Ben, Bradley, Kofi. Is it Kofi or the other the Clipper guy?
I think it is Kofi.
Amir, is it Amir Kofi? We'll talk him. Yeah, we'll talk all of that.
But if my show is canceled, or you know what I mean, if my guest can't show up, I'll be over there.
Hop on.
Appreciate you, Quinn.
Appreciate you. Appreciate the chat.
No doubt. A couple people in this chat I want to shout out. My guy Chop Low. Salute. Appreciate you jumping on the channel. Who else we got here? Old Head in the building. Undios in the building. Always here representing. Jason Benjamin, of course, always blessing me with the super chats. I got Uncle Fulio. You know what I mean? I ain't even gonna put your business out there, but I appreciate you, you know, checking in while you traveling. Salute to you. Kareem Grant. Space Ghost. I hate even doing this because I know I'm gonna miss somebody. But nah, everybody, man, appreciate you guys checking in. Check out the next show if you're gonna watch it after the Queen show, or watch it now, whatever it is, man. Check it out. And until next time, Yo Black is time. Shout out to the